And we're live.
Hey, everybody, Captain Ron here, and welcome to another episode of Fearless Flight Live, our weekly Facebook show. For any of you who might be afraid to fly, any of you who might know somebody's afraid to fly, and those of you who just like hanging out with people who talk about aviation a lot, commercial aviation. And well, we talk about everything. If you're pilots, we're always, this is a thing. There I was. That's what we used to talk about when we were flying in the military. So anyway, glad to have you this week. It's another week. Getting closer to the holidays. I'm sure some of you are out there talking about plans to fly. Hopefully your anxiety and fear is not going to keep you from doing that. And we're going to talk tonight about a couple of things that we have in progress for anybody who needs a little bit more encouragement or a little bit more coaching to get past that part of their journey there. So with that, let me open the slides here and we'll get this show on the road. Of course, the first thing we always say is we encourage everybody to join our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather private Facebook group. It's growing. Gosh, I think I saw 3 or 4 people today alone that just joined. And we want to keep it going and growing. There's a lot of people in there that are in various stages of overcoming their fear flying. So it's a great resource, a lot of critical mass to help both give and receive support out there. And I'm going to start throwing out another encouragement, and that is we'd love you to go over and join our YouTube channel, because that also helps us, helps people find us. And so either later on or at the end of this, we'll put in the notes or the remarks the link to join our YouTube channel. And we have a lot of great videos on YouTube. So we just have I don't know why, I just hadn't occurred to me much before to do that. Okay. Tonight we're going to talk about the club membership. What does that mean? We got something we're calling the Mind Chatter quiz. And then we're going to talk a little bit upfront about the live group coaching webinar coming up on Thursday. With the subject this week, our topic is going to be managing the chatter, what to say when you talk to yourself, preparing for a flight. And the theme is going to be about getting ready for a flight. I've had several people talk to me privately, telling me that they need a little bit more structured way to prepare, things to do, and we're talking about chatter. We kind of touched on that last week. The stuff that we always talk about, the stories that you tell yourself. We're going to talk more in detail about that, what you can do, and that of course we're moving in that direction more towards our app and the 201 course, how you can go on there anytime and build your own flight plan to get you through your next flight coming up. And we got as a special guest Lauren Dicker tonight. Lauren she'll tell you her story, but I first met her face to face back in Boston in March. She was one of the folks in the Boston class that I went out east and flew with. And she just flew with her family down to Disney World. So really, really looking forward. She's got a great story, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from her. Okay, Fearless Flyer Club. We want to thank everybody for those of you in particular who helped us name it. And as we said last week, the club here, it is like the rest of our stuff. It's available on our app or through our app. And so it makes it super convenient. And it is the way that you stay current. Eric and I talked about, and Diane talked about how we have to stay current as crew members, and the reason for that is so that we don't have any big lumps or gaps in our learning. And the same thing really, really more prevails for you all as well, because one of the hardest things about overcoming your fear of flying is that if you don't fly that much, it's easy to drop back into the rut and and relapse. And so we don't want you to do that. The membership was a goal that Dieter and I had set a long time ago, and this year we just had the critical mass to get there and bring it online. We had this. If you go over, I don't know. You want to take them over and show them the webpage live, Dieter, or would you just keep pushing through with this?
I think it's good. The one thing I will say is where we had a couple of people ask, which of the premium economy or first class, and I always say if you don't have the Fearless Flight Kit already, or you don't have the video course to how to get over your Fear of Flying 101, then the first class is definitely the way to go, because it includes the Fearless Flight Kit and it includes all of our flight deck confidential audios as well as the video course. So that's the biggest, other than the fact that you get to come to all of our monthly live group coaching calls, and also have access, of course, to all the past webinars, and get to ask questions. And even if you can't make it live, you get to see the replays as well. So yeah, it's really one of those things where the more you do it, the better you get. And that goes for worrying about your next flight. And it also is how to, create a positive, and we have this topic coming up, mind chatter, positive self-talk. And so I would highly encourage you to jump into whichever tier works best for you. And we're obviously gonna put in there more content as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people who know more and continue to learn more, they do better. And the people who, in knowing more and learning more, it's hard to convey. But if you think about things in your life that you've done well, those are things that you learn how to do and repeated the process. For example, learning how to use a computer keyboard, right? The first time you did it, it was very painful. And the next time you went back to it, it was hard to remember what you'd done. But now, and of course, maybe iPhones are a more contemporary example, even people like myself and Eric, even we can use iPhones. Okay. So that's a tribute to, learning how to do something and doing something over and over again. And so the more you repeat something, the better you're going to get at it. And this is, like I said, this has long been our goal, and we're moving towards everybody can get what they need through the membership and do it on a sustained basis. It came to our attention today when we just want to congratulate the winners again for their accomplishment there, or their luck maybe. And one of them said, it was when she said, I won, but what did I win? That Dieter and I realized that we had fallen short of letting people know just what the heck we were doing with this. So that's one of the big things that we did, and we wanted to readdress it here tonight. So, and all of this is leading up to, you should have received an email just prior to the evening here that invites you to look at these things, and including a new video we put up on YouTube with one of our favorite students, Anne Gray. And this is all leading to Thursday, our monthly live coaching, group coaching call. And we're going to talk about mind chatter, what to say when you talk to yourself. And we all do it. And it's I think it's going to be one of the most interesting coaching sessions that we've had. So I encourage you, if you haven't signed up, whether you sign up just for the coaching class this Thursday, or whether you're in the 201 and you get it for free, or whether you've joined one of the membership plans, I'd highly recommend that you sign up for this. And remember, if you can't make it, but you've signed up for it, you're going to get the replay there. Okay. So, if we don't have any questions, we'll move on and into our evening here. And I'll ask Lauren Dicker to come on board here, and we'll grill her down there. Hi, Lauren. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. And you were just, you're one of the my favorite group of people up in Boston. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe when I got there and all you guys showed up at the airport that day. And I remember going by the Dunkin' Donuts and saying that was my downfall, was the Dunkin' Donut place there. But we ended up well, before I do that, let's just talk about, when did you first realize that you were afraid to fly, or when it was an issue?
So it was a very long time ago. It was in 2004. I was on a plane ride home from Florida, and there was a moment at the airport. I started to get anxiety. As I started to board, I started to get more anxious. And I just once we got up in the air, I got really scared of the height and the claustrophobia, and I just got overwhelmed in my feelings of anxiety. So that was the first time. I had flown about maybe 6 or 7 times before that. Totally fine. Okay. Loved flying. So yeah.
So you're one of those mystery people that, you're going along, minding your own business, not thinking about anything, and all of a sudden it descends upon you, and now you have a real issue with it. And how'd you come in contact with me, Perish the Thought, and Fearless Flight?
So I had a mutual friend with Susan Migliaccio.
Oh my gosh, one of the two Susans. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a mutual friend, and I was talking to this mutual friend about I hadn't flown at that time it had been the 10-year mark, and I was ready to move forward. And she said, reach out to my friend Susan. She's part of this Fearless Flying group that has a live Facebook call. So I joined. I called her right away, and I started joining the calls each week. And then I reached out to you, Captain Ron.
Yeah. And so if you want, you can tell just a little bit about that. We all got together and did some coaching and all that. And then I ended up flying out there. Well, you took the online course, right? The 201?
Yeah. Took the online course. Yep. January to March. And then March you flew out.
Right. And at that time it was all live. It wasn't available to do that. But then I flew out to Boston. So what was it like when we went to the airport and flew that I remember the date well, it was March 19th. What was that like for you?
It was actually March 12th.
Did I blow that? There you go. Never trust anything that runs. So.
But no, that was really hard. I even had my husband as my support companion. So we drove to the airport together. And once they started boarding us, as you know, Captain Ron, I had some tears starting to come with, 10, almost 11 years of emotions kind of balled up. And now I was facing it and boarding the plane. So that part was really hard, but I felt really supported, and I felt really prepared for that flight, and I felt ready. So it was just getting past the anticipatory anxiety.
Yeah, and when I told Eric what we encountered that day, because we had just about everything go wrong that you could. We had first of all the weather. It was foggy to start with. We had a big cold front going through. We had snow. We had to de-ice before we left the ground. And then I think when we got to Baltimore coming back, that's when they had to change one of the tires too, wasn't it?
Yep, tire change, de-icing. There was turbulence, so they never
turbulence both ways. Yeah, yeah.
There was no snack or drink service. It was seatbelt light on, turbulence.
I was so happy I didn't go on that trip. I just pinched myself. The only regret I had was not finding a legal seafoods franchise somewhere in the airports. Other than that, I was ecstatic.
Yeah. So what's happened? Bring us up to date. So what's happened between then and the flight you took last week going to Florida?
So I flew with you in March, and then by about June, I said to my husband, we need to book something immediately because I want to continue feeling the way that I'm feeling, excited to fly again. So we booked a trip to Florida, which was a little over 3-hour flight. We went to Disney. My 7-year-old loved it. He had the best trip. But yeah, so that was the next step. I wanted to book a flight and have a date to focus on. And I had taken a little bit of a break from the Tuesday night calls and a lot of the course material. But once I booked the flight, I like jumped right back in 100% preparing again. So my flight, our flight was November 2nd. We flew and we went to Florida and we were there for a week and then we just came back.
And what was it like leading up to November the 2nd?
Well,
Telling on you a little bit.
honestly, October was really hard. I did a lot of mental work. I listened to the harmonizer. I was texting a lot with my Boston Fearless Flying group. They were all really supportive. A couple of them had already had successful flights since our March flight. So a lot of really positive feedback and encouragement and support. And then the same thing when we boarded in Boston, I was prepared. I listened to the meditation, the harmonizer. I had comedies downloaded on my iPad so I could just relax and have fun. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And you know, I like to, you know, be as open and honest as I can with people, because people, you know, they'll look at you like they look at me much of the time and say, oh, she really wasn't that afraid, you know, and oh, you know, she's, you know, she doesn't know what it's really like. What would you say to people out there like that?
I've been there. I was there 2 weeks ago. When we got to the Boston airport before we left, the flight was delayed and I started to get teary-eyed and I just told my husband and my son, I'm just going to take a little walk because I didn't want to cry in front of my son. I wanted to be brave. So I just needed like a moment to myself to regroup. And then I was a lot better. So I think it might be a little bit of a challenge that, you know, over the next few years flying. So I'm just going to keep doing it as hopefully it will get easier.
Yeah. And to me, you know, you've stated it and I'll restate it, is that, you know, even though, you know, the anxiety comes up, you have the, you know, to me, when you get as involved as you were, Lauren, you know, you develop a different history with yourself, and, you know, where you have a positive thing to build on. And you just, you know, that most importantly, you got to get on the airplane. You know, and so when you got on the airplane, you know, was it, you know, compared, let me start over again. So one of the things I've noticed over the years is when we do the flights and we go out and then we come back, the out flight is the hardest for people. And when we get on the ground, and I found that even when in Boston, you know, we had the same kind of stuff coming back on the Boston flight, but people are much less resistant to getting back on, you know, on the return flight. And so once you got on the airplane in Boston going to Florida, did you find that things kind of gelled and came back to you rather quickly, or did you have, you know, did you have a lot of anxiety that you had to work through?
It was really just at the airport and boarding and takeoff about 10 minutes into the first flight going to Florida. I was a lot better. And coming home, like I said to you guys, I was about 90% fine coming home because I had just done it. It was successful. I felt good. I enjoyed the flight. I didn't feel claustrophobic. My anxiety didn't get that high. And just coming home was a lot easier.
I have one question that's burning into my brain. Did your son realize what a big deal this was for you? What a huge hurdle it was? Was he super proud of you? I mean, he looks like a really happy kid, like you don't smack him that much.
No.
And did he get it that mom had made a huge vault on this attempt?
Yeah. Well, he would say the last couple of years, you know, all of his friends in class have been on an airplane. When are we going to go on an airplane? So I would try to avoid that question. And then he knew that I took the course in March with Captain Ron. So he knew that I was working on, like, Mommy's scared of planes, but I'm going to get on a plane today and then we're going to book a trip and we're going to take you to Disney. So he knew it was like a really big deal for me, so I could make it a big deal for him to do this trip.
That's awesome. How old is he?
He's 7.
All right. And when you got to Orlando, you spent his entire college fund at Disney World, correct?
Pretty much.
I just want to say there's nothing wrong with spot welding. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And I'm glad Eric asked that, because there are a lot of moms out there and dads occasionally too that are worried that they'll pass their fear on to their kids, and on time. And so some of them, react by trying to keep everything from them and all that. And your kids know, they may not know the details and all that, but they know that something. So to me, Lauren, that's absolutely commendable that, you shared it with him, appropriately, and he could be one of your supporters. I mean, it sounds like just a really good thing that you did for him.
He loved the flight. He was so excited. He was more excited about the plane than I think going to Disney at first. He was so excited to go on an airplane.
Wow.
Yeah. Was that his first airplane ride?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember mine and stuff like that. And here I just recorded some of the chats that you and I had over the course of this. And anybody out there, I love it when people like Lauren share their experiences with me in real time, because it really fuels my fire. To hear all of you guys out there doing well and stuff. And, I'm just going to go through these. Flying home, I'm feeling okay, excited to go home, and that's it's totally needed response there. And prepared, mostly ready. What made you feel prepared and mostly ready? Can you think of any specific things, Lauren? Or what did it look like? If we were looking at you, and watching you, or we could get into your brain, what were the things that made you feel prepared and mostly ready?
Well, like I've said, the harmonizer was huge for me. Riding to the airport and getting to the airport, that was a really good distraction. I just came really prepared. I had adult coloring books with inspirational messages. I had a couple of People magazines. I had a bunch of comedies downloaded on my iPad. So I actually made myself a to-do list in case I felt restless. So I started deleting pictures on my phone and emails and voicemails just to free up space and just to kill time. So I was really prepared, and I felt ready for this trip. I felt like it was time.
Yeah, and to me, that falls in the category of, you had alternative places to put your attention. Because when you haven't thought about it or haven't prepared or don't even think about preparing like you would for some other kind of endeavor, your mind keeps going back to the same thing, and it just gets stuck, and you can't move your attention away from the anxiety and the fear. And that's what two things: it makes people miserable if they get on the airplane, but some people it makes them either get off or not get on in the first place. So again, good for you. And you mentioned the fearless the people that we flew with up here. Again, the Boston flight, watching what I've seen over the past 35 years, when you see a group of people come together like that, you guys were in rare form. I mean, it wasn't, typically a fearful flyer goes to the airport and you project that everybody around you knows how afraid you are, and they're all judging you, not with you guys. When you come together, when we do the flights like that, everybody's there. It's like you've known people for all your lives by the time you get done. Mm-hmm. And it was just a great group to experience that. And you mentioned, this is literally one of your texts. You said the harmonizer saved me. And what do you mean by that?
I meant by that, once we got to the airport through security and we were waiting to board, the flight to Boston was delayed, so there was some extra time. And I had the noise canceling headphones my husband got me. And visually seeing the clouds and hearing the voices, I don't know, something clicked. Even the last few days, every time I hear a plane fly over, I think, soar now, like it's time to soar. And I feel that. I feel, I don't know, I get excited now when I see planes go over, and before this, just the sound of it would cause my anxiety to go up. So.
And some people especially people who don't know what it's like to be afraid to fly, they have a hard time accepting the fact that people can literally drive by the airport, see an airplane, and go into a place that's uncomfortable for them. Mm-hmm. And that was a great shot with the clouds there, and what you wrote there. Oh my God, I'm feeling fantastic, proud returning from our trip. All I can think about is book any other flight, and I want to ride this wave. And that really is a tribute to you and all the work that you did, and all the people up there that we worked with. Anything to add to that? Have you guys thought any more about a follow-up flight, or just, just keeping there?
Yeah, well, one thing I was going to say about that picture, it was so great having my son with me because he was so excited, and he looked out the window and he said, "Mama, those clouds look like on the game Mario, where you jump cloud to cloud and you can't fall through."
Yeah.
And he just made it fun. And I was like, "You're right, it does look like that." So my stepdaughter is in college in Las Vegas, and it's about a 5.5, 6 hour direct flight. She's now in her junior year, and we haven't been out to see her. And my husband has been patiently waiting for me to be ready.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm as ready as I'm going to be. I guess that's going to be our next flight.
And then here was some of the other pictures that you put together for me. Look, I mean, that says it all, what it's all about. And I have a lot of clients that, they have business flights, or they've passed on jobs because they couldn't fly or anything like that, but had taken your son on his first flight to Disney World. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I put that in there. That was your little coloring book too, because any port in a storm, it's, anything you can do to move your attention, which then gives you back control over that chatter in your ear, and or in the inside of your head. And that's why, we're going to put the focus on Thursday night, talking about the things that you can do, because I've had several people write me saying, I got a flight coming up. What am I going to do? And so we're going to try to talk more specifically about that. But you fit the mold, or you broke the mold, Lauren, and I really want to commend you and thank you for being so open and sharing with us, all the things that you did. Any words of wisdom for anybody out there that thinks, oh yeah, she's, she didn't have it as bad as I do, and what would you tell them?
I would just say, face the fear, afraid. Like, it's okay to be fearful. And just working through it is going to be a process. The anxiety is going to come up. You need to be prepared on how to handle it, what the next step is, how to redirect attention, think of the why. Like Dieter has said, what's the why? Why am I traveling? And, my why was to bring our son to Disney. And my next why is to see my daughter at college. So those are huge whys.
And you're a great example, again, of somebody flying and then not flying for a while, and it will reset somewhat. Your anxiety will reset, but you're living proof that it doesn't have to be debilitating like it is before. And you've got to do something. You got to do something different. The old definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results. It really applies to anxiety due to flying, because if you have no plan, and your brain is just going to just fall right back into the same ruts that it was in before. So, do you have any questions or anything, Dieter, or any comments?
Well, lots of hearts and lots of positive feedback for you, Lauren, your courage. And I just want to point out this really cool thing that you mentioned in passing, but you quite literally polarized completely the other way. Before, you said you heard a plane and it kind of made you contract, and it's like, oh shit, plane. Now you hear that same plane and you go, oh my God, cool. I wonder where they're going, and I wonder what they're doing, And so this is exactly what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, because that's what really the chatter, how we talk to ourselves is how we receive that stimulus, right? Which is the same. And we have a formula that we love to share: E plus R equals O, right? So the event plus our response, will produce the outcome, right? And so the outcome before was kind of like a contraction, like fear. And then now you feel like, oh, wow, this is this is cool. And this is also why we created the Fearless Flyer Club, because the truth is, we just like working out or just like anything, you know, we got to stay current. We got to, you know, continue to do it. And the more we do it, the better we get. And so I'm so proud. It's really, really cool to see.
It's
you
like
grow.
going to the gym, and you know, and basically you have to, no matter, you know, so many people say, well, I'm not afraid, or I'm not worried about the airplane crash or something like that. You know, I'm just worried about being cooped up in there. But the reality is if you don't know what's going on some level, you can't wrap your brain around it. And so that's why you got to learn something about flying, learn about what it means to, you know, what was that sound, what was that feeling that we had, and then you got to learn how to distract or disrupt your thinking. And even your son helped you do that, you know, by saying, think about it, Mom, it's like Super Mario. And that speaks to the third one, joining a community of people, because you'll get ideas from other people that you had never thought about, and you will click on. You know, I'd love to say that we have all the answers, but we don't. What we try to do is listen to people out there and then help redirect their thinking and sometimes steal their ideas. It's not below us. So
I just actually, Lauren, I want to encourage you too. I know you're on the show, but we just created a brand new quiz, which we call the Fearful Flyer Mind Chatter quiz. And it's basically just 8 questions. And it's a bit of a self-knowledge kind of test. And I'd just love for you also to do that when you got time. I'll send you the link, and I put the link in the chat here as well, because we talk a lot about myths, you know, like ideas that we carry that are like a story that we tell ourselves. And there's a lot of myths about this inner voice of ours that we carry as well. So, because to me, that seems like the most striking, right? Because I remember, you know, doing the live classes, and you were there in February, and even you know, the way you were speaking, and if I just could have both videos side by side, it's just so fascinating to see. So I'm super proud. And
yeah, the chatter quiz is the mind chatter quiz. It measures attitude and beliefs about self-talk, and that again, it's part of the education about yourself to you, because a lot of people really don't know what they believe about flying, what they believe about their own ability to overcome things. And so anyway, yeah, so we'd love to have you on that. And any last words or anything, Lauren?
No, just agreed with what Dieter just said. I just stayed really positive. I'm excited to travel. I'm excited to spend this time with my family. It's going to be a smooth flight. You know, if any negativity came up, I just acknowledged it, moved on. This is going to be great. So that's really important. So I look forward to that call Thursday.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. And again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for trusting us and me in particular. And you were one of my favorite or most memorable experiences was watching you when we flew in Boston last March. And thanks for sharing all that you did then and tonight. And again, thanks, Eric, for joining us, and Dieter, and thank everybody else out there for joining us at Fearless Flight Live. We'll see you again next week.